Welcome back to iHeartRadio. So bad it's good. Today we have somebody that is so good it's great. I am so excited to talk to this person because, believe it or not, I have not had anybody from this show's cast on this show, and that is a crime. This is one of the shows that you need to be watching if you haven't already. And the people that do watch it are obsessed with this show. They are rabid fans, and you do need to sing the praises of this show so we can get a fourth season of this show, which I think is pretty much a lock, but you never know. She is one of the founding members of this show on Bravo that is wrapping up its third season. She helped create this show. Not only that, she is a stand-up comedian. She has a show, I believe, at the Improv in Miami in March, which we'll talk about. She has a podcast, which just blew me away. I just listened to the most recent episode. She had taken a break. It's called Currently Cringing, which this past week's episode was so refreshing in terms of honesty. She's also, she has clothing businesses, everything. We need to get into all of it. So from the hit show on Bravo, Family Karma, Anisha Ramakrishna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And jail for not having anyone on our show on your podcast till now.
Anisha, I've literally gotten yelled at so many times from people, so many times. And I will be completely honest, is that I didn't start watching your show until BravoCon this year. And it's an amazing show. I mean, it really is one of those shows that it's like, oh, why haven't I watched this up until this point? And I think that's a huge compliment to give it. But why do you think it's taken people to catch 3 seasons to catch up with this show?
It's funny. Many people have told me they found our show because of BravoCon, and I think it's taken time for people to catch up because at the end of the day, we're South Asian, and
Yeah.
you watch the network and there's so much diversity, but the network has so many housewives shows, right? And so it takes people a minute to look at someone from a different culture in life. Forget flipping channels. And so being Indian, I can say that's what I think it is because we're not what you necessarily see on TV. And shout out to Bravo for being the only network with an all Indian cast in American television. That's pretty wild, but there are a billion of us in the world.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that you're right. Sometimes I guess we fear what we don't know. I know that sounds silly coming from a television perspective, especially on Bravo, but it is one of those things. Once you start watching it, I mean, first off, it's always amazing learning about any different culture, but then you realize the similarities between all of us are so striking with, your parents and your grandparents. I mean, sometimes they're the stars of these shows. It was like, oh my God, I have my grandma's like that, or my mom's like that. And it's so fascinating. And then the relationships. I mean, we're having a gay wedding on this show. We're having these things that are kind of mind-blowing no matter what culture they come from, but to get to watch it and then get to watch also the culture that is behind it, to me is just like, wow, I cannot believe I wasn't watching it up until this point. So that's kind of one of the things of let's get as many people from Family Karma on, because I want this to get a fourth season. If they do get a fourth season, do you want to be a part of it? I want more of you on this show, and I don't feel I got it this season. What do you have to, because that's another thing. I talked to a lot of people about you, and they're like, we need her, we need more of her, we need more. She's the star of this, we need more. How do you answer those people?
Well, I think everyone's equally important. And that's one of the things I really do love about our show. Everyone's journey, which you've seen, is so different.
Yeah.
So I can't tell the story of Amrit, for example, and Amrit can't tell the story of Brian. Everyone's on their own journey. We don't compete with each other, which is why our show works so well, because we're all so different and all our families are different and we all come from different parts of India. But I hope we get a season 4. I'm optimistic, and I would be so grateful if they asked me to come back. I mean, I think who wouldn't want to be on a platform where they can showcase, their story? And I think that's one of the good things about our show on Bravo is Bravo really showcases all our stories, our individual stories.
No, they really do. I mean, but you can tell Brian's story. He just dates Monica's. You can tell that story. That's Well,
I think in his case, you can see there's pressure. There's pressure in our culture for men and women to be married by a certain age.
Yeah,
Gay,
you guys
straight,
really
whatever you
yes,
identify as, you need to
yes.
get married.
I love that that is the common theme. Okay, but I will say, and this is what I keep coming back to your podcast already because I was just kind of blown away. It was like this 35, 40, 30. It was a smaller episode, you guys, but it was really kind of just catching up. And you kind of did this it was probably not unique to you because it was actually what you're going through, but it's so sometimes refreshing to hear somebody be completely honest of that. You kind of said you took a break from yourself. You kind
I
of,
did.
you're kind of regrouping. What does that mean?
Well, I think when you're in entertainment, when you're on a reality show, and then you're also a content creator and you're in a fashion business and everything's about you. You're like,
Yeah.
yes, you're providing content and entertainment, but I just felt like all I do is talk about myself, and it's everything is so self-fulfilling. And I just wanted to take time away to reevaluate, because for so long, which you'll see on season 1, 2, and 3 for people that are catching up, not being married was my identity for what you see on 3 seasons, but for me in life for the past decade, because I got
Yeah.
married at 38. And so, you know, kind of having that being no longer the case, I just have to step back and look at, okay, what do I want, God willing, we're all alive, the next 10 years to look like? Because for so long, I really couldn't focus on it because I had all of this pressure from society. And I'm going to say, what I love about our show again is it's not just in my culture. I'm talking about society in general in the world. When you're a geriatric millennial, like 35 and older, not married, as a woman, people treat you like an alien. It doesn't matter what you look like, what you've accomplished, how funny you are. People think you're weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that it is the more you do, the more I do cover these shows, and they primarily, a lot of them focused on women, you really see how the world treats women and even how women treat women. It is interesting though, since it was so much a part of your identity. Has it kind of rocked you though, since that, it's like you're having to find a little bit of a new identity because you are, as you point out, happily married to it's just someone who makes you feel beautiful, who makes you feel like a woman.
Yeah.
It's got to be really, as amazing as that is, it's got to be really scary because you had held on to this identity, and you got a show on TV based around that identity. You helped get a show. You showed us your dating journey on that show.
Right. And I think none of us were married when we started. We all, me, Vishal, and Amrit all got married the same year, not planning that at all. It's just, they'd been in long-term relationships. Congrats to Vishal, who's finally legally married.
Congrats to Shaw. We saw that marriage at the beginning of the season. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think, so many women related to me. And then now I feel like I sold out.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, but
well, because
I've done what I've wanted to do, right? I was never ready to get married, and then when I was ready, I started dating, and I made it my full-time job. Like, no one just flew from the sky to marry me,
you talked about vision boards. You were putting relationships on your vision boards and stuff like that, and man, it's been a while since I've made a vision board, and you almost made me want to make one again, because you were even talking about you and your husband sitting down to make vision boards and stuff.
Yes,
and I was
together.
like, is that pulling teeth, or is he like, yeah, let's make a vision board?
No, he believes in what I believe, because when he was 6 years old, he wrote down what he wanted to be in life, and that's what he is.
Really?
So I really do
Wow.
believe in the power of writing and visualizing and obviously executing. You can't just write it down and then go to McDonald's.
Yeah. No, believe I've tried that. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, speaking of, I guess, vision boards, then what was the vision board for Family Karma? I mean, you really were from
I
the
always
beginning
wanted
of
to be
this
on
show.
Bravo. I always wanted to be on
So
Bravo.
you loved all of these shows before. What were your favorite shows before Family Karma?
Oh, I think the mainstays. I mean, Beverly Hills, Atlanta, Below Deck, Shaws of Sunset, like you name it. I watched them all.
And
Potomac.
I mean, oh man, did you watch the
I
this
did.
week?
I
What
have
did
a
you
lot
think
of
about
thoughts.
what did you think about Robin not reveal? Well, this is actually an interesting question because you have you've protected your relationship this season. We didn't see your wedding, we didn't see that thing, and Robin, not similar, but there was a lot of information that came out
Yeah.
about Robin and Juan's relationship after the fact, and she chose to reveal that in a different way than on the show. How do you feel about something coming? I mean, yours is not nearly similar at
Well,
all, but at the same time,
well,
she
for
kept something
me,
for herself.
I think it was, I wanted to get married and I felt like this was my chance to get married and I didn't want anything to get in the way of that. Being 38, I was like, this is the guy that I want to be with and I want this to work. And he just doesn't want to be on a TV show. And I understand that. And then there's a big aspect of this called Nazar, which is evil eye in our culture. And you don't really want to talk about things or showcase things until they're said and done. And so now that we're actually married, like, yes, sure, you can see him. But
see, that's the thing. I was in the fourth season. Are we going to be able to meet him? Are we going to be, because I mean, that's
God
a
willing,
lot of us are
God willing, we get a season 4, it can trickle him in. Absolutely. Would he be
okay.
like someone that's there full time? Like, absolutely not. But would you be able to see him?
Well, I want to see
Yeah.
the Scottsdale. I want to see Scottsdale life. I want to see, I mean, my parents live in Gilbert. I grew up in Scottsdale. I mean, that is a
Oh,
whole different lifestyle itself. And I think it would be, I always wanted there to be a Real Housewives of Scottsdale, even though you would melt filming it. But I mean, I would love to see what your life consists of now. I mean, I would even pay to watch you guys make a vision board together. So I really hope the fourth season happens. But so back to the Potomac thing, did that even shock you with Robin being a fan of Bravo? But you know it from a different angle. So did you
well,
understand it?
I think in my case, in my own self-defense, I'll say everyone, had come into the show with their families and their significant others, and I came into this show single. In the same case, Robin had always showed her life and her husband and then took it away. And I do understand as a viewer, you need to see everyone so that then why are you there, right? Like, to form
Yeah.
a connection, they want to see you there. I get it. They want to see your life. But in her case, she had always showcased it. So why the change now?
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing we're all wondering. And then to reveal it the way you do in a
And I
podcast
didn't do
form. And
that.
no,
I don't have a Patreon and
yeah,
I'm not
by the way,
charging $5.
please tell me you're announcing, guys, she's
No,
putting it behind a paywall for all of her
no.
wedding footage.
I'm doing everything for free. Someone pay
well,
me.
you speak about Nazar though. I mean, it's like we see a lot of these relations. I mean, the evil eye and not wanting to jinx something potentially before it happens, but a lot of the show does focus on these relationships. And I mean, I also, this was a question I got for you on Watch What Happens Live. You were very cheeky and you had brought up something about not thinking these relationships were going to go the long haul. Were you just being, that was a cheeky moment, right? That was you,
Well,
or do you really
I think
truly
people
felt?
didn't, it didn't translate when I even said, call me in 10 years. Like, I was even talking about myself because
Yeah.
as millennials, I'd be a fool to say, yes, we're all gonna stay together forever. I look at my husband now and I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna be married next week.
She doesn't mean that. She does not mean that. That's not.
It's cheeky, but people were like, how dare you? You hate your friends. I'm like, actually, I love my friends, and my friends were laughing because the way we all are, we're millennials, like nothing, there are no guarantees. Even my mom tells me, like, well, you did it once.
Well, I mean, can you, I mean, so you were a fan of all of these shows and then you thought, I mean, was this thought of like, we could do this, we could be on Bravo, we could
Well, I
show
just
our
wanted
stories.
to see Indians on TV, and me and Vishal were friends, and that's kind of how this whole thing started, and then Bravo wasn't like, oh, we want Indian people. They just wanted an organic group of friends, right? And we all have been friends for 20 plus years and our parents for 30 plus years. So everything you're seeing on our show, we're not some cast that was put together.
See, that's why this show works, you guys, because you can, I scream about this every week about real relationships, and it has this foundation, which then we believe what we see, because sometimes I think these shows have a credibility problem, but you and Vishal and Brian, friends since since you were kids, you guys, since you were like little kids. And I think you feel that when you watch this show, and that's why we're so much more, or at least I feel so much more invested in this, because I don't feel like I'm being lied to ever.
Absolutely. And for all of us from season 1 to now, like Lopa, like all of this stuff, that's how she is. What you see is what you get. Like when you meet all of us, everyone tells us like, wow, you guys are just like how you are on the show, because these aren't characters. When people come up to me and they're like, I love your character, I'm like, that's who I am.
Well, you're gonna love me then. Yeah. No, well, I mean, what was it like being a fan of Bravo and then to watch your show actually, I mean, come on air and then actually see yourself from that? I mean, were you like, they do a really good job of portraying me? I mean, or were you like,
Yeah,
oh
I would
man, the
say
edit, bad edit?
I can't talk about edits on our show at all, because I always joke, I wish they edited me, like make us scandalous, because what you see is what you get. These are real life, day to day South Asians in America. We have the same problems as everyone else.
Um, uh, with the cast now, where are you with everybody? I mean, you and Vishal,
Yeah.
you guys still talk on a regular basis. How is everybody?
I'm happy to report there's a family karma group chat and we talk every day, everybody.
That's like my favorite question to ask anybody on Bravo is like, are you like, and the Housewives never really are. The Housewives split into like segments where they're like, oh yeah, we don't like, I'm not on the chat with Erica and Rinna and stuff, but you guys are actually on a family karma chat, group chat.
And everyone talks every day.
I love
right now
that.
we're like,
That's
Monica,
exactly...
are you okay?
I hear
every
the
Sunday
nasty
night.
Okay, I love that. And by the way, you guys, this Sunday night is the Super Bowl, of course, and they decided to let the Rihanna concert just play. And the Family Karma will wrap up the next season the Sunday after. But I'm hearing that you guys don't have a reunion. Is that correct? And why the heck not?
I don't know. I haven't been advised. So that's, I wouldn't know. But
so if we scream loud enough, who knows? Maybe you can do a watch what happens live
but
thing.
I think before we talk about a reunion, let's see the season finale.
That's true. The season finale is coming up, but wait, so what can you tease about the season finale? Obviously, it is leading up to another wedding. Is there anything that you can tease for the viewers?
Well, if you watch this past Sunday, I feel like that teased quite a bit. I mean, they're almost gonna call things off.
Well, I mean, where do you stand on that? Because I mean, listen, this is that relationship it's interesting because I mean, I feel like Nicholas is trying to fight for a little agency, but he's going up against the other family. I mean, how do you view that from even watching it back?
Andy asked me that question. He asked me like, what do you think about wedding planning? And it's the worst thing on the planet. It's, I had a small 20-person wedding and I can't imagine planning a wedding with hundreds of people and different traditions, different ethnicities, and bringing in different cultures and religions. I mean, I would have given up. Like I tell Amrit and Vishal all the time, I would have given up. If Lopa was my mother-in-law, like I could go, no way. It's hard. I understand both. I understand Lavina being the daughter of an Indian mom as well. They are, very hands-on. And I understand being Nicholas as someone, who's, a minority in our group.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting from that perspective as well. I didn't really but that is completely the case. Watching the show also come on as a Bravo, and I feel like, I'm to blame for this as well, is that you guys have had to fight for each season, but I feel like each season Bravo gives you a chance, it gets bigger and bigger. And it's one of those things where I think it's that lesson of like you have to let shows grow and you have to let people find shows, and you just have to hope that Bravo keeps going, so the most people can find this show as possible. You spoke about BravoCon, where a lot of people kind of discovered it from that. Was that an exciting experience for you to meet everybody and just even as a fan yourself?
It was surreal because, you're there with these Bravo labs who are legendary, that have 10 seasons under their belt. And I've grown up watching them, you know, from my early 20s to now. And having people know who we are, who Family Karma is, and the amount of money Bravo invested in our show. I mean, you were there. We had like a bar, a Family Karma bar.
Yeah, you had a whole
all
thing.
of us. Yeah, it was incredible. And so to be in that room with all of those people, and then, you know, you're expecting these characters, and everyone was just so nice.
And I know a lot of people that met you that said you were so nice. I had said I was speaking with you, and everybody was sending me pictures of you with them at BravoCon. And I was like, okay, all right, that's good.
I'm thirsty, Ryan. I was like, let me sit at the Family Karma bar. That's literally what I did.
I'm planting at the bar. You do stand up as well, and you actually had a show in New York. You're doing another one in Miami. What is it, March 4th? Is that right?
March 22nd at the Miami Improv. And I don't say stand-up, I say storytelling, because I haven't been trained in stand-up comedy. I just feel like I like to talk to people and make people laugh. But I like to call it storytelling. And my show right now is just about, you know, getting married and being Indian.
Well, so potentially we will actually learn a lot more about your wedding through this show. If for all those fans of Family Karma that need all the updates, we potentially could find this through your storytelling show.
I mean, not really, just that like I can give away one of my jokes, which was,
please.
You know, my parents sold me to the lowest bidder.
But that's a great.
They were just like, sold. She's yours now.
Well, by the way, you even mentioned that you gave, I was laughing. You're like, yeah, I gave him an ultimatum. It worked. Like, listen, that's what it does work. I'm sorry. I'm not going to apologize.
Well, I had also been with someone for 12 years. So it's not like, you know, this is my first rodeo. Like, I know how relationships can drag, and then you get stuck in like the hope, and then you get back on this on and off game, and it just never works.
Yeah, we watched you have that, you know, I mean, you were coming off that 12-year relationship, and then we got to watch, I mean, you let us watch you get back on that horse and fall off that horse and get back on that horse and fall off that horse. And I think that was another thing that I was like, everybody kind of can really recognize that in themselves or through that journey. And I think that's why people love you so much. So I brought the stand-up, the podcasting. Are you going to continue with the podcast? Because you said, like, listen, I am finding myself. Where do you want to go with the podcast? I hope that continues.
Yeah. So I actually now own 100% of the podcast. It was with Dear Media, and I'm very grateful to them. And now I own 100% of it. It's mine. And so I'm going to definitely continue with the podcast. It's been 2 years of me potting. I just took a month off, and people went nuts. Yeah. And we're back.
Yeah, people were like, "Where's the podcast?" Because I didn't realize that you have a lot of fans on this podcast. Because then I was like, "This is a great pod." I mean, I really was blown away by how honest you were on that. I was like, most people aren't this honest, so it was really nice. I kind of was like, "Wow, I'm subscribing to your podcast now."
Yeah. People listen. People have been listening. I have the day ones. You know, we started that podcast in the pandemic.
Wow. Yeah. By the way, I feel like the pandemic birthed like thousands of podcasts. Like the podcast would just be empty. As we wrap up here, we have the podcast. We have the storytelling show. If you are in Miami or you're just the biggest Anisha fan as can be, go get tickets to that. I don't know if it's sold out yet, but please, let's go sell that out. Family Karma wraps up its third season, not this Sunday, but the next Sunday. And as a Bravo fan, this is going to air tomorrow. I want to get this out immediately. Are you going to be watching Vanderpump Rules, Summer House, or Jersey? That all premieres in this next week. Are you a fan of any of those shows?
Yeah, in the spirit of Jersey, happy Jersey premiere day.
Yeah, by the way, go out and fight with your family on Jersey premiere day to celebrate the Gorgas and the Giudices fighting once again on another season. It's very exciting. And then on Family Karma, if we do get to see a little bit of your relationship next season, what else would you like to see? What else do you think that they haven't highlighted in your culture so far that you would love for people to get a peek at?
Well, I think now, we've established who we are as individuals, our families. Now we're all married. I would love to see us all, as an ensemble. And now you see us
Yeah.
really interact with each other and delve into us as a group.
Would you ever consider doing a girls trip if they brought it out of just Housewives?
I am begging to be on a millennials girls trip. I can name people who should be on this trip. I am
Who would
begging
be
to
on
be
this
on a
trip?
girls trip.
Who would be on this trip with you? It can't be
I love
Brandy Glanville anymore.
Well,
Candace.
yeah,
Candace.
Candace. I love Dr. Nicole Martin.
Yeah, Married to Medicine. Well, no, no, Dr. Miami. I'm sorry.
Housewives of Miami, like a newbie that is killing it.
She really is. When she put down the black card a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh my God, that was a legendary moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I could go on, but yeah, there's quite a few people, but Paige from Summer House.
Yeah, you guys could do a fashion off too. That would be amazing.
Or
I really hope
just a trip.
Yeah, but yeah, by the way, we'll start with a trip and then we'll do an ultimate girls trip. I would love to see a family karma, everybody just a season where you guys, a semester at seas or something like that, where you just do a below deck trip for a whole season. Yes. Anisha, thank you so much for spending this time with us. I'm a new fan of the show, and I feel like there's a lot of people like me out there. It is so easy to binge, you guys. These are shorter seasons. In fact, the third season is the longest season of it so far. And by the way, once you get first 1 and 2 seasons, you're going to want that longer season. And then after that, I can guarantee you're going to want a 4th season. So make sure your voices are heard with Bravo. I think this show will definitely come back. We're too deep in to let it go. And thank you for spending this time with us today. And also, you guys, like she said, the podcast, I love the podcast. Currently cringing this past week's episode. Go check it out. I just found it really, really refreshing. And I hope great success in your relationship and your vision boards. You really are as amazing as everybody says you are. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.